I'm Jeremy. I'm an Americorps member serving here in Visalia.
And I'm Lizzie, also an Americorps member. If you're not familiar, we're here for a year.
I'd like to thank you guys for coming. We do programs every month, and some of you may have picked up our monthly walk sheet with some events that we'll have upcoming in the next month or so. But if you have Facebook, you can go to the Sequoia Riverlands Trust Facebook page, and we'll be posting events there. You can find out what's going on. You can go to our website, sequoiariverlands.org, or you can go to our meetup group. Meetup.com is a website for people who like meeting up with similar interests, and we have one called the Tulare County Outdoor Community. So I encourage you all to join. That is the main conduit for us communicating our events and our meetups. So please, I encourage you to join and come out to our event.
My name is Robert Urtecho, and I will be your guide today. I've been working with these Kaweah Oaks Preserve for a long time. I taught for years at COS, several colleagues that are actually here. And today we're going to talk about medicinal plants. And my field is botany. I am a biologist. I've taught biology for years, but I teach human anatomy and botany and ecology, a weird combination. You rarely get that combination. People are either nature-oriented in plants or they do human physiology and anatomy. I do both because I can't decide. I don't know what's better. So I went for both, and I learned an immense amount. I found out botany can be really boring. People go, let's go out and look at some weeds. People go, oh God, there's always a mutiny on the botany. And what I try to do is avoid that and actually bring something that might be of interest to them. And what I do is I brought in medicine. So we brought in a lot of medicine, and another thing that we bring is Native American studies into the medicine, into the botany. All of a sudden you have this interdisciplinary field that is of interest to, some part of it will be of interest to somebody. So what happens is that's the way we like to teach that kind of material. And as you see, I've compiled over the years quite a collection of stuff that deals with plants, medicine, ethnic uses of materials. And you're free to look through all of this. And what we'll do is we're going to walk around. I'm going to give a brief presentation to start, and then we're going to walk down the trail. And as we're going through, we'll be stopping every few meters. And I call it the scratch and sniff tour. And if I can't find something to scratch and sniff, I have a bag of goodies that we can scratch and sniff right here. Because this morning I got up very, very early to go look for materials that are known medicinals. Now each of you should have been handed a sheet. I noticed that you have one. Let's see, it looks like this. And if you don't have one, they are available right over there. I will be referencing this material. I have the pictures of some of the plants where we will be looking for. Some of them may be available, some of them may not be available. We're going to try our best. What we're going to do is we're going to attempt to tie in historic uses of plants, Native American uses of plants, Yokuts Indian use of plants, and then how it all may fit into the ecosystem, how it affects us physiologically. Because there are things out there, all of you that have had a cup of coffee this morning, you know that a plant has changed your life. Because all of a sudden you went from to hello. All because of caffeine, a product of a plant. And that means something very interesting. These plants are pharmacies. And this talk, normally when I give it, we call it the green pharmacy, because every single one of these plants out here that you see contains chemical compounds that may affect us and change us, and more importantly, heal us. And that's what we're going to be referring to. So we're going to start our talk. We're going to go over here to this side, and if you could come over to this corner, I'm going to show you. plants. Well, my background is, my parents are from Yucatan, Mexico. And so we are Maya. We are Mayan Indian. And there is no real medicine out there that's, that people can call, how do you say, westernized. When you're living out in the country, everything is actually, you know somebody who knows the plant. And my mother grew stuff like this. And you guys know what this thing is. Of course, this is a mint. And when you crush it and you smell it, it gives you a wonderful, wonderful smell. My mother used to give it to us when we used to have, when your stomach is knotted, you're nervous, you've got a pain in the stomach, you've got cramping, you boil water, you get it nice and hot, you get this, wash it, take all the slugs off. Yeah. You can eat the slugs, but maybe you don't need that much protein. Put it in the water, you just let it steep for about a half an hour, take out the branch again, and the water is green. And the water is still warm. You drink it and you sit down. In 20 minutes, the stomach ache is gone. And I've tried Tums and Maalox, doesn't work. But when you use this, all of a sudden, calmness, your stomach is no longer cramped. And my mother says, oh, this is yerba buena. In Spanish, good weed. I don't think you want to use that in this county too much, but this is the good weed. It actually relaxes smooth muscle. So smooth muscle is a type of muscle. We have skeletal muscle that moves our skeletons, and smooth muscle moves stuff through our intestines. So stomach, large intestine, small intestine have this. This calms smooth muscle. And what happens is if your stomach is knotted, it should relax it, and it relaxes it. So anything that has smooth muscle would work here. This was my introduction to it, and I started to study this. So if you look at this, this is Hamamelis, witch hazel. Has anyone ever used this? Do you know what the application is?
I used it as antiseptic.
It's antiseptic?
Yeah.
This thing, I've learned Native American medicine. This is Iroquois medicine. It's in aftershave. And after you get aftershave, your face kind of tightens up. That's witch hazel. Acne medicine, when you put it on your face and it tightens up a little bit, it's witch hazel. What about medicines for hemorrhoids? They have a little bit of witch hazel in it. When you apply it, squeezes that hemorrhoid, shrinks them. All from a plant. And just amazing to me. When I look at all of these, here, root beer. This is sassafras. Native American medicine. A lot of people are unaware that root beer is an American creation. When you go to Europe, you will not find root beer. It's sassafras and molasses blended together, and it makes one awesome drink.
Do we have sassafras?
No, we don't have sassafras out here.
Georgia, and we have tons of sassafras.
It's a weed if you go to that side of the Mississippi.
Root beer all the time.
But you can make your own root beer. It tastes great, and it is medicinal. It has a nice calming effect on you. I don't have things here, but take cola. Now, I know a lot of people that have high blood pressure. What's the worst thing you can do if you have high blood pressure? It's called cola. Cola contains a chemical that raises your blood pressure up, and it keeps it up for an extended period of time. And then it eventually starts dropping down. Caffeine will raise your blood pressure, and it very rapidly starts to drop it. But not cola. It goes up, and it stays up. So a lot of folks go up. I'm on heavy blood pressure medication, and what are they drinking? Diet Pepsi. It's cola. It's cola in particular that does it. Anyway, these plants here offered me a great introduction, and the source of the information I'm giving you are these books right over here. So if you, this includes this book here. This is the Physician's Desk Reference, because we want to find out what's going to kill y'all. And some of this stuff will. And I have to warn you, these plants are serious business. A lot of folks are out there self-medicating, and it's not a good idea. You better know what you're dealing with. If you're using mint, the only thing that's you'll find out here if you have esophageal reflux, you probably don't want to use that, because what it does is it'll open things up, and it's going to come back and burn your esophagus. So if you already have gastroesophageal reflux disease, you may want to find something else. Maybe the Tums will work for you better than this thing. but you find out in things like this, and this is what I use as my source of information. And then all of these things. The best one is the reference that you guys have here. And this is James Duke. He works for the USDA. If you look on his website, you look up James Duke, you will find everything there is to know about plants that are medicinal and their uses. And Safeway is the plant.
Rosemary?
What is it?
Rosemary.
Rosemary. You know what it's used for herbally? Memory enhancement. You know, people like me who I have to remember all these names of plants. And make sure every spaghetti I make, you cut a little branch like this and you let it steep in the spaghetti, gives it good flavor. Memory enhancement. In fact, a lot of people, herbalists, do is they take a bunch of things in the mint family and they mix them all together, make a tea. It's a wonderful enhancer of memory. And this is one of the great ones. What I have here also is a couple, little minor display of things. Here's yet another one. And hey kids, I got another one for you guys to pass around. Where's my happy assistants here? Yeah, just break off a little leaf right here. This is part of the scratch and sniff. When you're done with the little pieces of material, we can put them back in a sack over here. And I'll ask the kids to walk around with the bag. What you are getting is French lavender. There's a whole bunch of varieties of lavender. And if you get the leaf and you crush it and you smell it, it smells wonderfully. It just smells wonderful. Here's how you can tell it's a little lavender here. What I love about this is, look at this, stem is square. Can someone tell me what family it's in? There you go. Scientist. Mint. If the stem is square and when you go like this, it's an absolutely square stem, it's in the mint family. So is that, the spearmint I just showed you. Okay, you got a good whiff of this? Men, you're a little bit less masculine right now. This thing contains phytoestrogens. And there was an article in Science News that stated very unequivocally, if you have a young boy in your family, you do not give him lavender soap because it contains phytoestrogens in it. Something that will, well, what will it do? It'll slightly feminize you. There are lots of plants that do it. You want to know another one? Soy. Soy products have phytoestrogens in them. And just something that you should be aware of. So at my house, when I get my sons, I look at them, no lavender. Here, have some mint shampoo. That'll be better for you. There's no testosterone plant, though. There's nothing that'll give you testosterone either. But for those that don't know it, those are hormones that estrogen is the hormone that only women primarily produce, and men produce testosterone. Here's a couple of interesting things I like to talk about when I'm walking through. These are American. When you think about the avocado, it's Aztec aguacatl. Aguacatl is the Aztec name, but it means testicle. In Nahua, the language. These plants have wonderful oils and are used medicinally, the seed core. Here's another one, tomatl, which is the Aztec name, which became tomate, became tomato. It's a wonderful plant. People were always scared of it because it's poison. And the family, the tomato family, it's probably poisonous. You have to be respected. So when you're walking around, you see something in the tomato family, and you can tell by the flower. When we see one, I'll identify it. Both of these things, again, American products, and a very, very, very interesting. When you're in North America, there's about 8 food crops that the natives used over here, primarily. When you get down to Mexico, it's like 158 different species because the climate changes and it's a lot wetter. This is the kind of stuff you can get if you have family in Mexico. That's real obsidian. This is, who knows what this was used for. But this was found in the jungles of Yucatan. And it's probably something to put a stick in there and start a fire. Look at that perfect roundness. And they did not have carts or any kind of vehicles. They made toys out of round structures, but didn't use it for transportation. This kind of stuff, or these little hammers, come from Tulare County. As you know, they're fairly common. What I wanted to speak to you here, this is kind of a semi-Native American display. I do have some interesting materials. I mean, pottery shards from Tenochtitlan. So this is from central Mexico. This is an alush. Hey kids, isn't that cute? This is the Mexican leprechaun. There are leprechauns in Mexico? You're kidding. They're called alushes. Everyone has a little statue like this when you go down to the Yucatan, and you point it, you sit it right in front of your house, and he guards the door to make sure that no evil comes in. My father swears he saw one when he was a kid, but my father's been known to stretch the truth on occasion. Our area was inhabited, and I have a little map over here of our mountainous area of Tulare County. Our area was inhabited by the Yokuts. Notice it's treeless, and it's not like it because people walk around plucking trees. That's treeless because it's all full of salt, and the salt accumulates there. On the other side, you see the forested area. There's probably a lot less salt out there, and therefore you get trees. But over here, you see that it's a very flat area. The soil is just not ideal for trees. So as a result, it only keeps plants that are tolerant of high salt. This is wild barley. So this is barley. So a lot of folks eat barley. This is a barley plant here. We have barley. We have oats. We have a lot of interesting other grasses here. These came on the fur of sheep. So when the Spanish brought their sheep or their animals here, you've picked these things up on your socks, so you know that they stick to your body. But this is exactly what came aboard the Spanish ships, and as a consequence, a lot of these grasses here are actually not native. This one here, this is soft cheat. If you get a chance, walk by. It's so soft. Where are the kids? Here, kids. Tell me, is this soft? Here, feel that grass. You touch it like this. Oh man, that's really soft. It's like a baby's bottom. But the Yokuts did eat things like this. They of course these are starvation foods. What I wanted to show you was this. Now, if you look closely, you'll see this plant right over here. In Mexico, they give them a generic name. They're called quelites. They're eating like spinach. But one of the things that's very nice about these plants is they accumulate minerals. So if you're sick and we take vitamins all the time, how do Indians take vitamins? Well, it's right there. These are mineral accumulators, and there are several types that we're eating. This is just one of them here.
There's two right here.
Yeah, you can see them. They're right over here. The quelites. They tend to be in the quinopod family. But other things that the natives used. Here's a nice medicinal plant here. This, it's too bad it's not in flower. This plant is called yerba mansa. Yerba mansa is, the root was used for bleeding. They would dig this thing up, and the root was dried, crushed, and drunk in a tea. If people were having internal bleeding, they would take this thing, and that's what the local shamans would use to help control the bleeding. Yerba mansa is obviously a Spanish name, so the Spanish incorporated almost all of this. And let's try another related plant. Let's see. Okay. Where are my assistants? Let's see something that's good for. Give everyone a leaf and let's crush this again. Scratch and sniff. You wanna? Here, just take one and pass it around. Okay, I need you guys to tell me what medicine this is. Just crush it like this. Crush it. And maybe, here's another way to get it done because it has like the chemical. You just rub it on your hands like this. Warm up your hands. And then smell your hand. Let's see. Smells like a menthol to you? I need somebody with good sense of smell. Mine has been all messed up because I take asthma medicine. Does anyone smell any particular medicine in this thing? That's it? She said it. It's camphor. This is the active ingredient in Vicks Vapor Rub. This is the tree all over Visalia. I brought it in because, you know, you gotta learn. It comes from. Can anyone smell it? I don't know. The allergies are pretty bad. And if your nose is stuffed. Okay, kids, where's my assistant? Can you go out there, walk around and collect them again? Just have everyone put the leaf back in there. Camphor and menthol are, a lot of these plants help you stop coughing. Eucalyptol, you guys have used that? Smelling that, you put it on your chest. Does it do anything to your chest? Absolutely nothing. But as it evaporates, you breathe it, and it helps control hacking and coughing. So,
what's the plant called?
That's camphor. You can buy the camphor at any nurseries out here. I'm trying to think where. It's on the COS campus. It's in my backyard. You could find it everywhere. Actually, it's all over. Around Mount Whitney. Mount Whitney High School has a lot of these trees outside in front of it. Natives used all of these things. Look at this plant. And if you reach down, let's see if you can, here's one right here. Can you see how this is rounded? And let's see if you guys can, look at, here's one again. Look at this. Can you see that that's rounded? And look at the flowers. Look at how weird they're coming out in the middle of the stem. That's called a rush. That is called a rush. Very, very different from a grass. And let me show you, this is barley. Let me show you how you can tell a grass from a rush. Can you see the rush? This is the leaf of a rush, just a straight stick. That's a grass. When you look at the leaf of a grass and you pull it like that, notice what happens when you pull the leaf of a grass. You get a little attachment to it. See that little thing that sticks out? That's called a sheath. Only grasses have that. So if it's round and straight, it's a rush. If you pull on the leaf and it has a little thing attachment to it, that's a grass. And here's a third little animal here, and it's right here. And it looks like a grass. It's right over here. When I look at the leaf, there's no little attachment to it. That's called a sedge. And when I twirl the stem is a triangle. So we say sedges have edges, rushes are round, grasses have sheaths. So when we're walking around here, the Indians used sedges for making baskets. They'd use rushes to make rope. They would eat grasses, as they needed. But they have to be able to identify them. Now, who can tell me, why do you think you have to identify them?
So you don't want to eat.
You don't want,
sedge.
You want to eat one of these things. Some of these plants accumulate hydrocyanic acid. They have cyanogenic glycosides. When you eat them, you're fine. As soon as it gets in your stomach, it releases a little chemical called cyanide. And I was like, Mom, I don't feel good. You fall over. You have to identify stuff. If you don't identify, y'all in trouble. Y'all in real big trouble. That brings up the point. Why do the plants have this? You guys, you eat sugar. You guys eat breakfast today. You ate your food, went into your body broke it down, and you made energy. That's called metabolism. That's called primary metabolism. Plants have all of that too, but they have this thing called secondary metabolism. They make a bunch of chemicals. This guy is a chemical factory. The reason it has a lot of extra chemicals is this thing has no way to swat a fly. You guys, a bug lands on you, what do? If there's something biting you in the rear, you snap it. You have a way to protect yourself, or you run away. How does this thing protect itself? It can't slap things, it can't run. So how does it protect itself? It produces chemicals that will kill insects. All of these things are walking insecticide factories. And for example, this thing right here, a bunch of animals will definitely eat this thing. So what does it do? It produces a ton of chemicals. If a bug eats it, it gets poisoned. If a bug eats it, it tastes nasty. All of those chemicals are also medicine for us. So it's the insecticides that are in here that these things use to protect themselves that are actually beneficial to us. And that's called secondary metabolism or secondary metabolite. And so when you think of caffeine, caffeine is in the plant. Why is it in the coffee plant? The answer, it's there to prevent other bugs from eating it. That's very interesting. So you look at all those things, they're at war. In fact, they're talking to each other. You guys don't know that the plants talk to each other? They actually, if this guy's been eaten by a bug, it releases a chemical and it flies through the air and it tells the other plants, hey, bug attack. The other plants respond, okay. And they start building other chemicals in their body to prevent that bug from eating it. They're talking. It's just amazing to me that these things exist. They're plant chemicals are called phytoalexins. And phytoalexins are the way that these trees can talk to each other and warn each other of possible infections. It's nature's wonderful. Plantain is? The plantain it's like a round leaf like this. It's in everyone's lawn, and it's the same active ingredient as Metamucil. So what it is?
I moved here and I haven't been able to find it since.
It's in the lawns all over. What is it? Mooney Grove Park. The Indians call it white man's foot.
Yeah.
They call it white man's foot because they said everywhere a white man steps, a new plant will come out, and they use it if they were constipated. They would eat plantain. And sure enough, BM in the AM, and life would be good once again. Yeah, I just want to show you guys bad. Everyone hates this plant here. This is Bermuda grass. It's not from Bermuda, it's from Africa. It's an interesting African plant. Very, very bad. You can see it right over here. It's related to this other grass we have out here, and you can just barely see it. It looks almost identical. This is the stickless. No, that's more Bermuda. Actually, we'll find another one. There's salt grass in here. The specialized salt grass. The Indians, every salt would come out of the grass over here. So the deeper you get into the alkali prairie, it looks very similar to, that's not it. That one is, hey John, do you see the outfit?
I'm looking for it.
I need a, here it is.
Here's some. Maybe because it's so fleshy green, it doesn't have that nice brown appearance. I think it's all right.
Just looking at it, they're, if there's even one alternate leaf in there. We'll see some as we're walking through. Saltgrass, what it does is it sweats a little bit of liquid in the morning when it's really, really cool. And when that liquid evaporates, it leaves a little tiny piece of salt on the surface. And the natives used to just put a deer skin on the ground, cut a bunch of saltgrass, throw it on it, let it evaporate, and then they shake it in the afternoon. All the salt falls out. They throw the grass stems out. That's how they season their deer meat. It's very, very nice, very, very clean salt. But at this point, I can't confirm it. I need to see the. But if we see some, we'll stop and talk about it, or just look at it. But I wanted to show you this. There's the first one, bilberry. Can you see it right here? It's in alphabetical order. Bilberry is there. During World War II, here's your list back. The pilots that were flying from England over to Germany to go bomb them had to do a lot of their runs at night because it was they just in the day they would get shot down. The Messerschmitts would find them and shoot them down. They'd go at night, and they made an interesting observation. the guys that used bilberry jam on their toast, when they ate it, they always hit their mark. They had excellent night vision. And so people said, whoa, what's going on? They started going back, and they made every person in the RAF and in the U.S. Armed Forces, yeah, you have to eat bilberry. And what happens is you have much, much better ability to see at night. A lot of us, over time you lose it. But that's an interesting story. Well, since then, it's now part of the history of this type of medicine. So that's an interesting story. Okay, kids, where's my assistants? Where's my assistants? Here, let everyone get a little piece of this thing. You just give them a little piece like this, and let them sniff it. Good stuff. Get your stick on it and pass it on. Let's see. Can you check the list to see if there's dill in there? Is dill in there? Oh, maybe the last page. My secretary put it on the wrong page. There you go. Is it here? No, dill isn't here.
You liked it a minute ago.
Or fennel. Maybe fennel is in there. Fennel.
Fennel's in it.
Okay, there you go. Okay, this is fennel. If you look on your list, it's on the very last page of the sheet you have. You look inside, there's fennel in there. Look at the two uses for it. It says it's good for gas and oligolactia. That means you ate those frijoles and they're bugging you. You ate those frijoles, you're getting a little bit gassy. After you take this thing, it reduces, this is Gas-X for herbal Gas-X. Or you're not producing enough milk. This is if somebody is lactating and giving breastfeeding their baby, fennel will increase the milk flow for that individual. Who knows what it has in it, but whatever it is, it mocks the hormones that make that thing work. Does anyone use this for dinner?
You can eat it?
Oh yeah. How do you prepare it?
I use it as a fresh herb, as a finisher.
As a finisher? Oh, like on top of potatoes?
Oh yeah, it's a nice garnish. It brings out nice aromas.
When you make a stew next time, you can buy the fennel at the market. You cook this. You could cook it separately, or you just put it in the stew, and then when the stew is done, you just pull it out. And it's not the leaves you eat. It's this bottom part you eat. It's the bottom part that's kind of white. You chop it up, and it looks like celery, but it tastes pretty good. And well, you won't get gassy after eating that meal. And if you're lactating, your baby's going to be very happy. So, but I think overall this is a good thing. It has all kinds of minerals that maybe we wouldn't get in a regular diet. That's the problem. How many of you guys eat leek? Let's see. Wow, again, there's 3 of us eat leek. Only 3 of us ate this. You realize how our diet is not very diverse. And think of all the medicines you're missing out on. How do you prepare leek? Well, tell me, how do you prepare leek?
I make a pasta sauce
Oh,
with it.
you make a pasta sauce with it?
Yeah.
That,
That's
Thelma,
like I saute it or like I put it in stews. I use it instead of onion.
Thelma, tell them how you prepare leek. I know you know.
Oh, well, I think you boil it and I really can't tell you.
Okay.
I eat it.
Vichyssoise, French soup. The way you leek has all the good active ingredients that are in garlic. What you do is you steam potatoes, you steam the leek, you chop it up, and you put it in chicken stock and in the blender, and you just you blend it with the potatoes and the leek. It makes a thick stock. You run it, you eat it. It's vichyssoise. Vichyssoise is French cold soup. It's potato soup with the leek flavor. It's incredible, and it's very healthy. And there's all kinds of phytochemicals in there that'll make you robust and happy. So, no guarantees though. But it sure is good. I use it all the time. I have a leek in my refrigerator. Your great grandmother used this. Your great grandmother used this thing. They have evidence that this plant has been used by the Egyptians 3,000 years ago. I mean, it is ancient. They've used it for making wooden instruments, flutes. The Native Americans used to use them for slapsticks, where they could keep a rhythm. It's been used a lot. The berries have been used to make wine. You also make it for zit medication. You can put it on your face in case you get pimples. The leaves, look at, you'd have a purple face, but at least you won't have any zits. You go, your face is purple. Yeah, but I have no purple. The flowers have been, what they did is they'd get the flowers and they'd steep them in alcohol or water. And you make aguas, c'est de l'eau de save in France. All these waters that are made from this. Remember, antibiotics. When did they finally come about? Turn of the 20th century. What did they have before? Sulfur. There were no antibiotics. Can you imagine, having an infection? There was just nothing there. Antiseptic surgery didn't come on board until 1880s. 1880s, and nobody believed them that they could do it that way. People never thought that you could get into the abdominal cavity to do surgery. And it wasn't until the guys from Johns Hopkins in the late 1800s, early 1900s figured it out that we could do that. This was the best you could do. They'd keep themselves clean with the flowers of this as an antiseptic. Here's the problem. This thing produces cyanogenic glycosides. In other words, you eat it, you get cyanide, poisoning. Not good. Now, John, what's the story on the beetle that lives on this thing? Is there?
Well, there's a small beetle that lays their eggs in or on the stem, and so if you look on the inside here, there's a real kind of not chalky but a soft material. It's pithy, which makes a great place for a larvae to eat and hide from predators. So they probably spend most of their 90% of their life cycle inside the stem. And if you look at some of these, you'll often find them as hollow. And so once they go through, the beetle goes through metamorphosis and has a flying stage. Once they get that stage, like many wood-boring beetles will grow on the surface, the adult appears, two sexes, they mate, eggs go back inside. Nice place to stay away from their predators. So.
Yeah. This thing even has a wood nymph attached to it. Like when you read in the Middle Ages, they would say that there was a little fairy that lives always on the elderberries, a Hildemare, a little creature that would be out there. And you never wanted to make a crib out of this thing without first offering something to the wood nymph. If you made a crib out of this wood, it would keep whipping your baby in the middle of the night and keep it awake. So, imagine that, the darn baby. What kind of wood did you use, honey? That baby doesn't want to sleep. Horse whips were made out of this thing. But you first had to make an offering to the wood nymph that was associated with this, some sort of fairy. Again, very, very interesting story. And again, over 3,000 years of use. They use it for cold medications out of the flowers and the fruit. Again, this is the original oak plant. And as you know, they're still advertising when you get the Quaker Oaks box. They say this lowers cholesterol. So oats like this were all part of the seed that came in. Okay, so now we have barley, and here's barley, and there we have oats. So we have a couple of cereals that people
Here's the
at least
asthma
are familiar
medication
with. That is brought over here by your great grandma on the covered wagon. Remember, they were coming out to the west on these covered wagons. They had no idea what kind of medicine was here. So you had to bring your own pharmacy because first of all, there were no doctors. Only grandma's medication would work. This is called mullein, woolly mullein, mullein. Woolly mullein helped break up severe chest congestion. When you go right now, I've gone, they call it in Spanish gordolobo. And gordolobo, the Spanish actually brought it in too from Madrid. This plant, again, once you have massive amounts of congestion in your chest, this thing right here makes a wonderful way to clear it off and expectorate it. And you can cough it out. If you get a chance, you guys come by. You can feel why it's so woolly. You can feel it. It feels very soft. There's another one.
How do you use that for congestion? Make a tea out of it? Or?
Yeah, you make a tea out of this. Here's the flower. Okay. So this is the flower. You can see the plant right here. The seeds of this thing are crushed, and you make a nice strong tea out of it. It's drunk, and you expectorate quite a bit. It's still used in Mexican medicine. When you go to the supermarket in let's say you go to Vallarta, and you go to the spice rack, half the stuff is medicinal. People don't eat that stuff. You use it to make teas. You can see there's lots of it right over here. And next year, if I shake this, we'll have a lot more. I wanted to show you another one, another very interesting plant. It's called horsetail. We saw one yesterday. And warning, there's nettle here. Here it is. Right behind you. Yeah. You guys look right here. This little plant right here. Doesn't look like much. Can you see? It looks like there's here's another one right here. Okay, I'm gonna sacrifice the top so you can see it. Here's the stem. You can see it's a segmented stem. It has little segments here. They call this thing I think they sometimes call it scouring rush. Scouring rush. This is what the Mormon pioneers called it. Scouring rush. They used to clean off their pans with it. Now, the thing about this plant that's very interesting is it's a diuretic. That means if you make a tea out of it, it's going to increase the volume of urination. In other words, you're going to be losing a lot of water. But where is that important? If you have high blood pressure, you want to lower your blood pressure, you want to reduce the amount of water in it. This will help do that. Or if you just need to reduce the water in your system, this right here increases overall, just like a dandelion. You guys, anyone ever hear? How about dandelion? Who's eating dandelion? But how do you use it?
You can use the leaves for salads, and then the flowers you can just make a tea out of them, the blossoms.
It takes that water out of your system. So if you want to lose a little bit of weight, take it, and it increases the flow of water out. You're not. Hopefully, you won't get dehydrated. Interesting question. Dandelion. Where does it come from? The name. It actually comes from the French. Dent de lion. Dent as in dent de lion. The teeth of a lion. If you look at the leaf, it has like sharp, like triangles in it. It looks like the lion's tooth. So a dandelion means dent de lion, or the tooth of a lion. Again, another useless fact.
A lot of grapes behind you.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. Here's the look at these lovely. This is the oak tree, and this is a great treatment for dysentery. If you have really, really bad diarrhea, the treatment. If you look carefully, you can see these little balls. Can you see the little balls on the tree? Those are called oak galls, and the Yokuts used to use those things when they had severe dysentery. The reason is they accumulate tannic acid, and tannic acid is the same thing that's in tea. When you drink tea, you put in a little bit of milk in there to absorb the tannic acid, so it doesn't go in there and mess up your proteins. It'll mess up your proteins, and it may cause a disturbance. So that's why people put a little bit of milk in their tea to prevent that, and it'll probably prevent your teeth from getting discolored. That thing right there is full of tannic acids, but what it does is it helps prevent excessive diarrhea, which happens in a dysentery. And remember, when people were crossing the prairies, what kind of water did they drink? Whatever they could find. There may have been a dead animal upriver, and there was some sort of infection. Your body responds by trying to flush things out. Well, you can get severely dehydrated if you do that. And if you're an infant, you can die. So the bark of oak trees is high in tannic acid, and these little oak galls. The Indians, since it's astringent and tightens things up, the Indians, when they would have like an inflammation of the eye and it was all swollen, they would make a poultice out of that oak gall, crush it, and make like a little paste and put it on the eye of the person. And what it does is it kind of gets that it kind of causes that tissue to contract, and when it does, it'll cause the shrinkage around the eye.
What about this little flower right here, the yellow one?
Oh, that's monkey flower. That's I don't know. Does anyone know why do they call it monkey flower? I don't know.
If you look in the flower, It's one of those like either you can see it or you can't things, like one of those little
Pictures.
Oh, it's like the Man of the Moon.
And anyways, so oh yeah, like Mexicans see the rabbit, the moon, and yeah. And so some people look in it and can see a monkey face in the flower. I can never see it. Other people can. That's why it's called monkey flower. There's a monkey face in there somewhere. I can never find it. Sorry.
Yeah,
What I see is just a monkey opening its mouth, like screaming or something.
I don't know.
Have you ever heard that mugwort is anti-poison oak?
The one that no.
Okay. I was told that once.
Did you use it for that? Did it work? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. The one that I think I most recently read is Rumix, what do you call it? The Doc.
Yeah.
Doc.
It's like the constellations where you look at 3 stars and someone says, oh
yeah, I don't know what's in there. Hey, do I have another goodie?
Oh wait, there it is. This is the
Here's one. I went to my garden today. So this thing is in the same family as the monkey flower. What is it? It's a foxglove. And you can see this beautiful here. You want to hold that one? Look at how beautiful. Look at and this is the leaf of the foxglove. It's in the same family as that one right there, that mullein. Except this one has a sordid past. A British doctor was out walking out and asking all these little ladies that lived isolated in the countryside what they use for heart problems. And some old lady gave him this plant. And this plant, the foxglove, she said it was good for people that had dropsy. Now, dropsy is like when your heart is not working hard enough and it can't contract hard enough, and you start accumulating tissues in your extremities. So what happened is this increases the efficiency of your heart, and this is the source of the medication digitalis, and that's the scientific name. So you hear about digoxin or other medications. You remember what are the names? Thelma, do you? Yeah, digoxin. Yeah, digoxin, and these things help strengthen that heartbeat. Messes around with your electrical conduction system. You have no way to get to the doctor, so they had to know their medication. So they talked to each other. Sure enough, this is something that originated in the English countryside, and now is a major and very, very important medication. And since then we now have things like nitroglycerin, things like nitroglycerin that people take that help open up arteries. Incidentally, nitroglycerin, when it goes into your body, it causes the release of nitrous oxide. You know what that is? Laughing gas. Nitrous oxide gets released in your heart, and the artery opens up, and all of a sudden your heart is going. A lot of things work with gases, and a lot of people don't think about that. A banana, a ripe banana, if you put it in a bag with a bunch of apples, what happens to the apples? The
gases they put out.
The gases they put out ripen the things real fast. Yeah. The gas is ethylene. You guys may have heard of ethylene gas. That's how they gas it, and that's why the fruit tastes so terrible in the market. They pick their fruit very, very green so they could ship it, and right before they begin to sell it, they go out and gas it with ethylene. It turns the right color, but you taste it, it tastes awful. Those are people say, "Oh, those are store-bought fruit." Yeah, store-bought fruit doesn't taste as good as stuff that ripened on the vine.
Natural bananas aren't yellow. It's the gas that they gas it with that changes it. Is it bananas or apples? One of them in nature, they aren't that color unless you gas them.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting to know what fruit that is. But it wouldn't surprise me. But when they gas them, they turn like bright red or bright some bright color.
Use that in oranges to ripen in the fall.
That's what it is. Oranges.
Is it oranges?
Natural oranges are only green.
Well, no, they all orange out, but the thing is, in the first part of the fall, they're slow to color. And so that's to bring that color. When the sugar level is high enough that they feel like they can harvest it, then they do. But they haven't got full color, and particularly and as a field man for citrus, I had to be down there real early because people would want to start picking real early. And if there's moisture on that, bingo, you got fingerprints all over that orange. It counteracts the coloring, so bingo.
Yeah, that's interesting.
In the tropics, oranges ripen, but they stay green because it's not cold enough.
Yeah.
It's warm all the time.
That's right.
They stay green, but they're still orange and ripe inside and sweet, high sugar content inside. Yeah, but that's down south. I mean, not south.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've seen that in
south
Mexico.
America.
It's very common. You go to the fruit markets and you see green, and you go, well, they're not ripe, and so you just assume they're a different variety.
Sometimes they'll regreen too. The kind of color comes back on later.
No, that is interesting. We're going to see a plant right over here. You know, there was no citrus to get vitamin C if you were an Indian. So how did you get your vitamin C? Because humans don't produce their own vitamin C. And the answer is a plant that we're going to see a few feet from here. So we're going to go backwards. We're going to cross the weir and go to the And so when you think of Texas and San Antonio and the storming of the Alamo, the trees out here they're referring to are the cottonwood trees. Just like the tree Fresno is named after the ash tree. Ash is a fresno. Again, Paso Robles. A robles means oak in Spanish. So Paso Robles is the pass where you have oak trees, and Alamo where you have cottonwoods, and Fresno is where you have ash trees. So a lot of the grapevine is what we call the crossing when you go from the valley into the LA basin, but the original name is La Cañada de las Uvas, the cane of the grape. The canyon of the grape. Here's the grapevine, very, very common. This is a native grape. And you can see the little flowers beginning to form here. Medicinal properties, yeah. You get a little bit tired after work, you have a little bit of a sip of a vino, you feel much better. And it probably, prevents blood clots from forming. That tree right there is a willow. And we'll see lots of willows out here. Willows, of course, have been known for centuries because they are used to break fevers. They also, in England, they were looking for things that could be used for malaria. Once they started getting into India as one of their colonies, when the British Empire was forming, of course, they had a lot of problems because they'd go into areas that were full of malaria. Well, they found a way to help deal with that with some willow byproducts. Okay, here's a quick test. What is this tree? We just saw it. Elderberry. If you guys are Monty Python fans, they always insult somebody by saying your mother was a hamster, your father smelled of elderberry. They said your dad was a drunk because he used to make wine out of the berries of this thing. So, yep, that's what it is. Down here, I can already smell this darn thing. Okay, you guys, this is the part of the scratch. So you have to just rub your fingers like this and smell your fingers. Smell good? This is Cucurbita fetidissima. It smells fetid. This is coyote melon, also known as buffalo gourd. If you look down here, you can see it's fairly common. Two uses for this thing. If you get the seed pod and you crack it and you get the little pumpkin seed, if you eat it, it causes you to expel worms. In your next time you go to the bathroom, there's going to be little things looking at you out of the toilet. Da, 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 da. They'll be looking at you. This thing causes, in fact, any pumpkin seed you use, when you eat pumpkin seed, there's something in it that causes the worms to detach and come out when you go to the bowel movement. A lot of kids here have worms. A lot of kids have pinworm in this county. Pinworm is yet another little worm. It's a little nematode that lives in your intestinal tract. And the way they get it is they share cookies. Here, eat this cookie. And the kids eat it. That's delicious. All of a sudden, next night, something hatches inside your intestinal tract. And then a few days later, y'all in trouble. What happens is when it goes in, it hatches, and then the worms come out and they lay eggs on the periphery of the anus at night, and they're itch. So people begin to scratch. And then all that black stuff on the fingernails may not just be soil. There may be other issues in there. And what happens is when you pass the cookie on to somebody, the eggs fall on the cookie and you eat it and you pass it on. So But the pumpkin seeds, the seeds of this thing will help remove that.
What's it called? Coyote?
This is
Then we're sharing
this thing, coyote melon.
Coyote melon.
I'll show you. I know I'm sharing a lot of disgusting things, but that's cool. Here, kids, you gotta help me on this one. Here's another way to get rid of worms. Here, pass a leaf out to everybody. So everyone gets a leaf. This is called Mexican tea. It's a very common weed here at the preserve. I had to go to the market to get this one yesterday because I sure can't find it in season now. Does anyone? It's called in Aztec. It's called epaxotl. In Spanish, epazote. What it does, if you get, and this is used in Mexico, the kids there cannot afford shoes. So they're walking around and they get hookworm. And hookworm drills through your foot, gets into your body, and you're all jacked up. So what happens is, and this is a traditional medicine, they get this thing, make a concentrated substance out of it, put it in the bag. They make a concentrated medicine out of it, and then you drink it, and you get cramps. This thing causes severe cramping. But it causes all those things to loosen. Next bowel movement, hello. You're going to get those worms coming out. This is a dewormer. Now, why the heck do they have it at the Mexican supermarket? Well, the answer is, people normally put this in a real tamale should have a leaf of this in it. A real one. None of these California tamales. Not the real deal. A real pot of beans from Mexico has this thing in it. It doesn't have laurel leaves. Laurel, that's just hoochie-coochie fancy stuff. This is the real ghetto stuff. And that's why you look at these kids and go, hey, those kids look worm-free. Well, there's a reason. They have this in their frijoles.
What's the common name?
Mexican tea.
What was the word in Spanish?
Epazote. Epazote. And it's on the list of pictures there. It's fairly common here in the preserve.
It does smell like bay leaf now that you mention it. It's kind of like reminiscent. It is similar.
You know what? All of them have the same kind of chemicals in different quantities, and therefore they can be used for different therapies. So you got pumpkin seed here that'll get rid of worms, and then this thing, just part of your regular diet. I would suspect that a lot of our spices that we have in our food were put in there in anticipation of the diseases you're going to get from eating them. So, especially curry. Why would anyone put that stuff together? Or why would you put chili in your meat? Like in Mexico, they really pile in that chili. Well, what happens is it's going to dislodge some parasites, and then you're going to be parasite free. You'll need some milk, but other than that, you'll be clean. So, interesting. Fiddleneck. Can you see the flowers? Can you come in and hold it? It's shaped like the head of a fiddle. It curls up like that. This thing is a geranium. This thing is a wild geranium. My understanding is they use this thing as an antiseptic wash. That means you could just steep it in water and just wash. And if you have a wound, at least keep it clean. But I really wonder. They call it alfileri. In Spanish, alfiler means needle. Can you see the little needles up there? Is that cute? Doesn't smell, doesn't look nice. Just a weed. Here's another good weed. These are very bad. These are not the friends of ranchers. This is the fruit. It can go into a hole, but you try to pull it out, go backwards, and it has backward facing hairs. If you pull it, it tears your nostrils or whatever. Want to try it? That's very bad. It's a brome grass. They call it ripgut grass. Ripgut. It'll go in, but when you try to pull it out, it'll rip your gut. You guys want to get your neighbors to hate you? Plant native California grasses. Advantage: you never have to water them. They stay green all summer. Isn't that lovely? It's called alkali sacaton. And there's a few patches here and there. And what you see out there mostly is that sedge, that thing with the triangular. You see a very tiny yellow plant. That is a mustard. And mustards are part of the cruciferae. Now, somebody knows here. What are cruciferous vegetables? Give me a good example.
Celery.
Broccoli.
Cauliflower.
Cauliflower. These are all cruciferous. Cruciferous means it's cross-like. If you look at the flower, it has 4 petals. 2 go up, 2 go sideways. It looks like a cross. This thing has sulfur compounds in it, and the sulfur compounds there are anti-carcinogenic. So a lot of people claim that this thing, when you take it in, it'll help control cancers in you. And this little mustard is just an example of one, but there are so many thousands of these things available. So if you look at a little thing that looks like a cross, nibble on it. Probably there's some right here. There's a lot of it out here on the left. Guys, look at this lovely thing. Is it medicinal?
It must be, because you're not supposed to eat it if you're on statins.
Yeah, whole bunch of medicines. You eat grapefruit, they tell you, don't eat grapefruit, don't eat grapefruit. The chemicals in grapefruit, when you eat them, it stops an enzyme in your liver that filters out medicine. So for example, if you eat grapefruit and then you take your medication, it's not going to be cleaned out and detoxified. So that, let's say your dosage is 5 milligrams and you eat one of these things. Next dosage, you're going to take it again. Now you're going to have 10 milligrams in your blood. It's not breaking down. This stops medicine from breaking down certain...
That's real helpful. My doctor didn't bother to tell me that, and so I've been enjoying the grapefruit.
Yeah, and it depends on the medication. Look on the label and it'll tell you, caution, do not eat grapefruit products with this. So maybe the medication, it doesn't matter because something else will break down, it breaks down automatically. But there's some of the chemicals that remain in your bloodstream, this thing it actually prevents it. And there's other medications that actually help this thing work. This is a lupin tree. I think there's another one right over here. Let's take a look at it. Lupin is a family. It's in the pea family. So I mean, people eat the peas. I think we could see it right over here. You never seen a pea that big. Look at the pea pods right over there. And you can see the pea flowers right on this side. Lupin, we have so many of species here in California. I don't know how many we have, 30, 40, I don't know, there's a lot of them. How many are there on the East Coast? I don't know, 4?
Is that in the soybean family? Is a soybean in that tree family?
And the reason you can tell is when you look at the flower, they have 3 special parts, a banner, 2 wings, and a keel. It's just a very distinctive flower shape. And that flower shape only exists in the pea family. And most of them, they're kind of poisonous though. We don't mess around with those things. You can eat the pods, but I wouldn't touch the plant. You're probably going to grow some hair someplace you don't want. You know, you have a tuft of hair on your tip of your nose. What happened? It must have been that strange pea I ate. Yeah, I want to mess around with it. That's yeah, you can eat those things. See, I've got something right here that'll grow. Okay, since we're talking about hair, so I do have another hair product over here. Let's see if I can see it. Here it is. Let's see who has one of these in their garden. I picked these off the ground today. My gardener was clipping them. Does anyone recognize that thing? It's privet. The Chinese use this privet to darken your hair again. You guys are graying like me? Privet is used to bring youth back to people, youthful vigor. So in the Chinese medical pharmacopoeia, they use privet to make you young and dashing once again. So I don't think it'll make you 20 again, but you know, I don't know.
Slow down and slide.
Curry. I don't know what's gonna happen. Ah, right, now we have curry has turmeric in it. Turmeric is definitely beta cell carcinoma. They've shown that something in the turmeric actually helps slow down cancers. And there's all kinds of medicinal uses. A curry is a blend of all kinds of chemicals. And I think I have an article. You guys didn't get it. It was in the one of these journals. Some remedies may not cure, but they do comfort. Chicken soup. You don't want to read that article. Keep disease at bay with curry each day. It's a great article. Curry. How do you prepare it? You just buy the powder. It's in the spice rack. You boil the chicken and then you just mix the curry with cilantro, and that, add water, throw the chicken, you got yourself some chicken curry. Serve it on a bed of rice, and you'll take care of that beta cell carcinoma. You come on closer, feel the stem over here. I want you to feel the squareness of the stem. So at this plant right here, you can feel that the stem is very square.
This is it too, right?
Yeah, all of this right here. This makes it clearly a mint. There is no question. Any mint has a square stem. Now this plant is called Marubium. It's called horehound. H-O-R-E, horehound. Horehound is one of the best medicines you can use when you have a lot of chest congestion. You can feel your chest is full of some sort of like mucus, and you need to cough and get it out. You make a tea out, and it's bitter. Oh my God, this thing is horribly bitter. But you make a tea out of horehound, and all of a sudden those coughs begin to count. You cough, and that mucus starts coming out. This is the active ingredient in Ricola, those little cough drops. You know, Ricola. Oh, there's a green one that came out. You know, something gross like that. This is Marubium vulgare. It is fairly common here in the preserve. You can actually see it right behind us. You can see there's quite a few plants out here. It's not a native, but guess what? The pioneers brought him here.
It's not a native?
It's not a native.
Oh, I didn't know
The
that.
pioneers,
Because the
great-grand...
used to make horehound candy and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was native because they... Oh, okay.
Oh no, we'll see the native. We'll see the native mint that you could use for a similar thing. Horehound is fairly common here. It's not a native, but it is a mint. So it has two things. It'll lead to if you have cramping, this will loosen the cramping, and this one just makes the coughing count. When you cough, you're going to let out that congestion. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Anything we've seen so far? Okay. So you just pointed out a little plant. You can see it's fairly common here. Here, right behind me. It looks like parsley. This thing looks like parsley because it is in the parsley family. Well, don't touch it. Some people are very allergic to it. This is they call it Burr Chervil, and it does have a medicinal use. It's something that relieves gas pressure, as do a lot of the things in this family. They just let that gas pressure from eating like too many black beans or something. Incidentally, that epazote I showed you, the worm thing, it's Herbal Gas X. It reduces also gas in your intestinal tract, as does this. It'll help relieve it. I'm not think people aren't too concerned about that. Just want to point out deadly nightshade. That is deadly nightshade. Not good. Potato family. Atropine, scopolamine. You figure out what mean. That'll send you on vacation and then send you to the tomb. But I'm not going to tell you. Here's another scratch-and-sniff plant. And look at that. The ants are already on it. This plant right here is called river sage. The natives, it's called ghost plant. The Indians call it the ghost plant. Here, you want to?
You ripped it, I can smell it all the way over here.
It smells quite a bit. I mean, when you smell this is this. It's not really like a sage with a square stem, but it's artemisia. It's related to sagebrush. You may have heard of sagebrush that's out there. This is a form of sage that we have here, like sagebrush, and the Indians used to, if they were lost in the woods and they were scared that there were ghosts that were going to come and get them, they'd get this plant and rub it all over themselves, and they believed that would prevent the ghost from attacking you. And in fact, there may be some truth to that thing. The Chinese have recently discovered that this thing is very strongly antibacterial. That means that, and they used to rub it like this if their partner died in the field and they were going to take them back to their village. They'd rub this thing on their hands and then carry the body, because they did not want the ghost of the victim to haunt them. So what they did, they took it back and they were fine. But it has antibacterial properties, so if there was any kind of decomposition, it wouldn't affect you. It's very, very interesting. This is the same thing that flavors absinthe. I don't know if you ever heard of that. To watch thy abyssintine ways. It was that. It was that thing they used to drink in the parlors of Paris.
Wow.
And it used to make you hallucinate and all this stuff. Well, thujone is the active ingredient in this thing. And they did a recent study, and thujone does not get you as trashed as the absinthe. So they went back and looked at absinthe, and they solved the problem. What makes you feel so weird when you take absinthe? It's because it's 120 proof. It is wicked drink. It is very, very concentrated alcohol. So you drink, it's like drinking pure alcohol. But this gives it flavor. And
What's the
wormwood, also called wormwood. Wormwood is another name. Wormwood is, it's related to that one. This plant is nettle. Now, if you look at this thing, don't touch it, because this nettle out here has hypodermic needles all over it. When you touch it, it injects histamine into you. And as you know, histamine, when you have severe allergies, you take an antihistamine. Now, this thing right here injects histamine into you, and when it does so, you begin to experience inflammation.
It's the same as like a bee sting, isn't it?
Yeah. So you get inflammation, you get tumor, rubor, dolor, all those little classic
Where are the
things.
needles on it?
The needles are on the sides. Look, if you look at the side of the stem here, you can see the needles right there.
Okay, on the
They're
stem.
the little hypodermics right there.
Rumex is an antidote for that, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Rumix is right here. Well, you can get for the Rumix is right over here, and I still feel this thing, so it doesn't work. Let me just show you this thing. Here's got constipation issues? We've got a plant for y'all. This is called yellow dock or curly dock. You can see the very strange looking. These are the flowers and fruits right here. But this thing is ground up and put into a tea, and you drink it, and it acts. They call it lengua de vaca, the tongue of a cow. And it's for constipation. They use it for all kinds of. It's a laxative. So it not only works as a laxative, but there's a whole list of things that I've seen that it's used for. I don't know if they're good or not. That's why people don't know what these things are fully good for. And the pharmaceutical companies cannot make money on it. The question is why? Because you can't patent it. You can't patent a wild plant, so why prescribe it? So what they want, they're not going to tell you anything about it if it really works. But and they're not doing any research on it. So,
What does the word dock mean? There's a lot of docks.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Here's a sedge right here. I can tell by the way it looks. Here's a wild mint over here. I want to show you another one. Right over here is a wild native California mint. The mint I showed you earlier, that spearmint and peppermint, are not native. Now, if you feel right here, you'll feel a square stem, and it's nice and fuzzy. You see, it's nice and fuzzy, but feel the stem, and it is clearly square. If it's square, it'll do two things for you. Remember, it'll calm down a crampy stomach, a crampy uterus, a crampy esophagus, and you just make a nice fine tea out of this thing. Out of the entire thing. So this thing is called it's called hedge nettle. It's called hedge nettle. It's not a true nettle. It is a mint, because you could tell the stem is square. But it makes a fine tea. The natives used to. This is the one they had access to, because there was no spearmint, there was no peppermint here. But this thing did give them the properties that you needed to relieve strong cramping. Now, here's a problem. Here's one you want to avoid at all costs. If you look at the purple spots on this thing, those little spots right there tell me that this thing is poison hemlock. So if you remember the story from long ago, Socrates was forced to drink a tea made out of this thing, and it killed him. Want to get the details? The Phaedo of Plato talks about a lot, and incidentally, this has a lot to do. A lot of the Phaedo of Plato was used by Aristotle and by Thomas Aquinas to create the theology of most of our modern churches. It's all related to, interesting, that plant. And
That's it, right here too?
That's it too. It looks like a, look at the leaf. It looks like a fern.
Do you know that plant?
We just call it smartweed.
That's what I knew
Smartweed.
in Midwest, but I haven't seen it much. But down here, I know.
Yeah, it's just the common name is smartweed, polygonum. In the family, they use it to treat constipation, but only the seeds. But this one doesn't produce very good seeds, so it's not. But let's see, right behind you, there's pokeweed. See this big tall one here? This is pokeweed. You can make some poke salad with this one. It has saponins in it, and saponins are a nasty chemical that kind of do the opposite of what that mint will do. It will tighten you up and make you feel pretty bad. So here.
It's going to have purple berries?
Purple berries.
Yeah.
Beautiful purple berries.
That you could use for dyeing things.
Yeah, they could dye. You can eat the fruit, and the fruit is fine, but you eat the plant like this, and you can get kind of damaged. You can see the tall stems over here are the nettle. And if you really need some strong nutrition, let's say society collapsed and you need some sort of minerals, these things are mineral accumulators. In Europe, if you're going to feed your geese and you want them to be healthy, you take the nettle, you chop it, you boil it, you cook it, and you feed your animals that. And the animals are strong and healthy and vigorous. And it all comes from this. What's the difference? They accumulate micronutrients and minerals from the soil. Another thing that does that is that plant. What do they call it? Forget it. I forgot. There's another one that does it.
I think you mentioned it earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, the equisetum. I'm trying to think of the common name. Horsetail. Horsetail. Horsetail does the same thing. It accumulates. Here's the problem on horsetail. If you go walking around and you're next to an agricultural field and you collect plants like this next to an agricultural field, you're going to get some of the pesticide that's in there because some of that accumulates also in these plants. So you have to make sure that if you're going to be using this, you have to take it from a more pristine area that's clean.
Doesn't the horsetail accumulate silica? That's why it spreads like that?
Yeah, it has silica in the cell walls. And that's why it's very, very good. Here again, ghost plant. Ghost plant. Here, lengua de vaca, rumex for constipation.
Is this a little,
That's a blackberry.
A blackberry, okay, and there's some tall right there, too.
Yeah, we have some long blackberries. Those are also very, very good for taking care of diarrhea issues.
And those were native?
These are not.
Oh, okay.
If there are leaves of 3, let's see. This is a native.
Oh.
Here's the Himalayan.
And yeah, this one is not. Want to see the native blackberry? So let's compare. This one has 3 leaves on it, and the green is not very different from the green on the bottom. Take a look at this plant. It's green, but look at the bottom of that leaf.
It's white.
It's white. That's a Himalayan blackberry. That's not a native.
Much bigger spines.
Where does the name Himalayan come from? I mean, they didn't import it from the
Yeah.
Himalayas.
Don't know. Yeah. Oh, I've always looked. Nobody's bold enough to make a claim. But you'd have to be a lot better traveled than I am. I know Kings County. Anyway, lots of interest. You know, this area is interesting. The bulldozers just came through here, so let's walk up here. We're going to climb up this little. Oh, let me point out. Look at this tree. Look at the size of that oak. You just looking at yesterday. That is the most magnificent specimen I've seen on this property. I think currently that's one of the most magnificent trees we have here. It's just in terms of just the sheer volume.
Beautiful, very much.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. Pokeweed, not a native, and that one produces those nasty chemicals that just turn your gut into just a shambles. It's just. And again, notice that here we are. It's springtime. There's lots of bugs out. How many things have nibbled on that? You know, something may nibble on it once and it feels terrible, and it just stops nibbling on it because that thing has an arsenal that won't let up. In the summer, it'll have a big spray of purple and red, beautiful fruits, which you can eat. And my understanding is in West Virginia and places like that, when the plant just comes out, you can eat them as greens.
That's what I thought I'd heard of that.
When they first come out, you can eat them, but after a while, they accumulate those chemicals, which speaks a lot about, a lot of this. Let me show you something over here. Like, let's say a typical plant like this. So what do I have here? This is Okay, here's more scratch and sniff. Where's my assistants? This is real California sage. This stuff, you want to give? If you're prone to headaches, don't take a whiff. But this thing is definitely antibiotic properties. Can you smell it from here? Just break off a leaf if you want.
And why would it give someone a headache?
It causes the once it goes into your sinuses, it causes things to contract, and all of a sudden you feel a headache.
Is that from your garden?
This is from my garden.
Oh, I was gonna say because that doesn't grow out here.
That does not grow out here. Now, I collected this thing at 7 o'clock this morning, so it's pretty potent, right?
Really?
If I collected it at 3 o'clock, it wouldn't smell as much, and maybe at 6 it wouldn't be that bad. These plants, the chemicals in these plants go up and down as the day goes by. If you don't collect at the right time of the year, and at the right time of day, you're going to get either some or none of the active ingredients. That's what
What's the name of that one?
this one right here is California sage. This is it's along the coast, so they would probably call it coastal sage.
Yeah, we used to call it purple sage.
This one is very common. If you like drought-tolerant plants, I have this in a section in my garden that has absolutely no irrigation. And it survives the summer just fine. It has no problem whatsoever. You find that the smell pleasant? The Native Americans would take this and wrap it up in stuff and burn it. This is how they purify before a sweat. So you get this thing and it purifies the air, and then once the air is purified, then you can be cleansed and you're mentally ready to go through the day. I don't know, maybe the smell. Did anyone get a headache?
Do the chemical concentrations come back up at dusk?
It depends on the plant.
I was thinking in terms of when they're most likely to
get eaten.
Eaten.
So it depends on the insect. That's why a lot of Chinese medicines, they bring them from China, they try to grow them in the United States, and they don't work. Because the insect that eats that plant that causes that chemical to be produced is found in China. And it doesn't have here, so the plant says, hey, there's no predator, why should I make any chemicals? So you have to have native Chinese herbs made in China to make them to work. That's why when you hear a lot of these people say, oh, I took echinacea for my cold. Well, and it didn't work. Well, yeah, well, it depends. Where's it from? Is it from the high plains of Missouri or Nebraska? Well, maybe it'll work. If it was grown in Burbank, California, probably not. It all depends. Isn't that, it's kind of an interesting, people don't consider that. But that's what a shaman does. A medicine man knows when and where to go. You can see this tree is not an oak. This is the Osage orange. Look at the branches. See how they curve really nicely? You can make good strong bows with these things. Here in California, you could not make bows out of those oaks because they snapped. When you pulled, they snapped. So the only wood that they can use, they would have to trade with the Mono Indians, with the Monachi up in the mountains, and the Tubatulabal. The Tubatulabal were up there, and the Wuxachi, they had access to it. It's called mountain mahogany. And that mountain mahogany was hard enough so that you can make the bows to go out there and hunt for deer. But our local oak, it just gave way. When you tied the sinew, and as you know, sinew are like the tendons of the deer that were kind of wound up, and so you can put on that bow. It just was not strong enough. But this is the Osage orange. This is the excellent thing for bow making. So any of you artisans here, here's your chance. It's not a native. You better talk to the preserve though if you want to take a step. Have you seen the little shells in here? We have little mussels in here. There's little freshwater mussels in it. Let's see if we can find a mussel in here. Let's see. There's got to be a freshwater mussel in here. Look at it's getting kind of moist in here.
It wasn't long ago that we had that big rain.
Is that it? No. Oh well, if I don't find it in the next 3 seconds, I give up. I surrender. Maybe they got killed. Isn't it interesting? Look at this. This is the Sierra. So you guys had an interesting thing. Something people don't think about it. But this is the Sierra. This is that granite that's making that wall over there on the east side of the state. It's been broken down. The entire San Joaquin Valley was a sea millions of years ago. This is all underwater. That's why in Bakersfield you could go out and you could find shark teeth about that big from the those megalodon sharks. This was an ocean, the San Joaquin Sea, and this was open. And what happened was the Sierra that was there before completely eroded out and filled in the valley. And what's happening is our valley is getting filled again. And who knows what's going to happen. This is called bed straw. And it is in the coffee family. It's in the Rubiaceae. This is, and the reason we know, whenever you see leaves coming out of the same level, like in, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a plant. We have a Cephalanthus, common name, button willow. Button willow has 3 leaves coming off the same level. This one, look at all these little leaves coming off the same level. That is definitely something in that family of coffee. But this has vitamin C in it. Remember, if you were growing up and you had no lemons, you're in trouble. You're gonna lose your teeth. But this thing will take care of it. You can eat it as a pot herb, and it would definitely take care of the thing. It has a little bit of caffeine in it, so if society collapses and you need your buzz, here's your drink. Bed straw. Yeah, it's got teeth in it. It's got little teeth that. So what else do we? Yeah, anything else about this? Well, there's only 2 animals that don't produce their own vitamin C: humans and guinea pigs. So kind of weird. Why that would be? You know, every other animal synthesizes their own ascorbic acid. Now we do have ascorbic acid in us, but we need to supplement it dietarily, and so that's why guinea pigs. And you see a stalk like this, twirl your fingers on it. This is a true sedge. Sedges have edges. It has a triangular stem. Again, not something you would expect. It's almost, gosh, it's almost Platonic. Plato and his geometry. It's a triangular stem. You wouldn't think that nature would have something like that. But sure enough, triangular stems that make this a sedge. This is what the natives used to make all those beautiful baskets you see in the museums. They produce like a root-like structure called a rhizome. They used to split that, and that's what they were able to weave into baskets. This area where the last the group are standing is cleared off regularly by the Wukchumni Indians. They come out here, ask permission of the preserve, and they dig up the rhizomes. And they keep this place vital. If you have regular harvesting, it actually is better for the ecosystem. And Native Americans actually maintain this ecosystem by regularly burning it. And a lot of people say, oh no, we have to stop the fires. Well, fire actually is part of the natural process here. If the fuel is low and you burn it, pass it out of the leaf of a marigold. It's the most beautiful smelling marigold you'll ever encounter. And you have to crush the leaf though, like this. And you crush it. They call it Tagetes lucida. Tagetes is the scientific name for marigolds. Lucida, it's just the species name. This is found all over Mexico. It's a true Mexican sage, true Mexican marigold. It was banned by the Franciscan friars in Mexico. Nobody can touch it. They banned it completely. This is a forbidden flower. Now, why is that? Well, they used to make a tea out of this thing for all the people that were going to be sacrificed on the pyramids. And apparently this stuff right here would render you a little bit kind of, hey, I don't care, life's good.
Take my heart.
So, not hallucinatory. Let's say it took care of anxiety.
I know if you steep the seeds, the marigold seeds will actually produce almost like a form of DMT.
Yeah, and so does parsley. Parsley has all the active ingredients of methamphetamine in it. And you wonder why the French put it in all their meals. It has you know, there's probably one methyl group that separates it out. It has all the active ingredients of methamphetamine in it, and all these plants do. This thing right here, who knows what they mixed it up with? All I know is this is one of the ingredients, and they'd give them a mix. And they would take it, and they'd line these guys up. We have to remember, the Aztecs did war in a different way than we did. in the West, in Europe, you go to a battlefield and you saw Braveheart, they chop each other up and they bleed to death over 3 days. Oh! You know, this left out in the field. The Aztecs would capture each other. It's like capture the flag. They capture each other, take them back to the place, feed them, treat them well, give them this thing, and then go take care of them in 10 seconds. Lie down here. Oh, you're gone. Throw them out the pyramid. 2 different ways of doing war. You either sacrifice your victims or you kill them in the field. I don't know. I think I'd rather get cut. It's faster.
And that name again was Tagetes?
Lucida.
Lucida.
It's the Mexican marigold. And it's interesting that this is the flower that you use for El Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is not chrysanthemums. Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, celebrated November 2nd of every year, all over the native cultures. The flower is this. It's marigold. The Mexican marigold flowers October, November. Interesting. And maybe it's just to remind you of all this. Guys, this is Visalia circa 1819, when the first Spanish came out here. It looked like this. So there's Mooney Boulevard. We have lianas going up. Lianas are woody vines. That makes this a jungle. So this is a jungle. People talk about the jungle of the delta of the Kaweah River. Well, this is it. You have woody vines that are going up there, allowing animals to go up and eat the grapes. All of these are grapes or virgin's bower. There's another vine that's growing up over here. And blackberries everywhere. So you can imagine there are birds, there are squirrels, there are coyotes filling themselves with all these. There's a ton of food here. And I just want to show you one thing that's very, very common here in California, and why we have to respect plants. See that? Does anyone recognize this little yellow thing? It's a pretty large bush. They call it a broom, a Scotch broom, or a Spanish broom, or a French broom. It's a large shrub. You can buy them at Walmart and places like that. It produces a chemical called genestin. It's highly carcinogenic. It causes cancer. So, you know, mice that eat it aren't going to be reproducing too much, I don't think. So what happens is, you know, if they eat the pods of this thing, they're going to die. This is something in the legume family. But anyway, I brought you in here because couldn't you picture yourself camping out? You're a Native American. You're on a hunting foray. You have your deer. You want to start a fire and cook it. Wouldn't this be a nice place to hang out? This is just a gorgeous place.
You can hang
you can hang your deer carcass up there. You can hang your bows and arrows here. You can sit out here, tell a joke. I just love it. Look at this liana. Now that again is a woody vine. Look at that. You could swing around here like Tarzan.
Well, look what you're standing on. That's what you're standing on.
And yeah, look at that. Look at this. That's a vine right there. That is the trunk of a vine. That is amazing. 50 square miles of valley oak in this area. 50 square miles. That is incredible. They used to go from this part of the Kaweah all the way down to the Tule, following all these little creeks. And in between, we had a ton of tules. All these tules growing out there where they could make boats and materials. And on top of that, there were open plains that were full of pronghorn antelope, which is one of the most common food sources out here. Pronghorn antelope, deer, and elk. Boy, of course, when the Spanish came out here, dang, this is a lot of good food out here. And sure enough, it didn't take long for all of this area to be populated. That soil, take a look at that. Why, look at that. That's hundreds of years of just decomposed leaves. Leave just an incredible soil here. So, Midwest, you guys have 10 feet of topsoil. So does the Kaweah Delta area. It has excellent topsoil here, and we grow anything.
What was further west, toward the Coast Range?
Toward the Coast Ranges, a giant lake.
Yeah.
A giant lake. Once you got beyond that, it was juniper oak scrub. And it was very dry. And then as soon as you got over that ridge, and you got that cool air influence, that's when you started getting valley oak again. So it is like a desert.
It's interesting to find so much when you walk, you know, from I lost at the beach, but anyway, a tremendous amount of poison oak right on the coast there at Montana de Oro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love
Take that trail back there, and it's just loaded with poison oak.
But you know what? I've got that advantage of Native American genes. Doesn't do a darn thing to me. Doesn't do a darn thing. I walk out there and I'm fine. I just nothing.
Maybe I got a little hidden in America because I've been lucky too. Back in the Midwest, I walked through a lot of that. And
you know what? There's so much. They've been doing genetic tests on a bunch of Americans, and people are very surprised at what they're like. You have no idea what great grandma was up to. You know, whatever it is, there's a lot of. We have a very mixed gene pool in this country. And it's
you commented about the plant you had there a minute ago, and you said you could buy it locally.
Yes.
And how come? If it's dangerous and so forth.
You're talking about the
ones you just had out of there. You just showed us the
people flower. Don't know it. It's just beautiful.
Oh, you mean the broom?
The brooms.
Yeah, the broom. Okay, yeah, that was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, people are using it. You can buy it at Walmart.
But you just use it for
it's strictly for enjoying the plant in your garden.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't. I have a garden full of stuff that I can eat and use if I need it. But boy, I'm sure careful about what I get. And some of the stuff I don't even touch it because I don't know what time of day and what time of year is the best time to harvest it. But it's not printed anywhere. No one's done the research. That's why you have the sacred datura out here, the Jimson weed. Now most of you guys may be familiar with Jimson weed. Mm-hmm. Very common, big white trumpet flower. That thing, you have no idea when it can be eaten. But they did use it. They used it for ceremonial purposes. When you were a Yokuts and you were of age, they would give you a concoction of that thing and send you out into the woods. And you were supposed to go out there and make your way back home on your own. And of course you're hallucinating, you're confused, you're crazy. If you made it back, you're a man. If you didn't, well, too bad. But the Jimson weed, has anyone ever heard about the story of where it got the name Jimson weed? When the Jamestown colony started in Virginia, that was one of the plants they found. And remember, they did not know the American plants. They were coming from Europe. They had no idea. Their supplies ran out very, very fast. So they started experimenting with eating stuff. One of the things they ate was the Jimson weed, also known as toloache locally. Well, that thing is highly hallucinogenic. They were getting sick. They got vomiting. People died. And what's an interesting side story on that thing? Yeah, they did that. They stopped eating it. But when the British came over during the war, the word was still out. That was not a plant that you ate. But the British didn't know that. So the Americans served it. Here's have an American salad. And it has some special American ingredients. Well, it left, they would say that the British soldiers were like blowing feathers in the air. Other people were clapping at the performance. And others were just giggling uncontrollably or crying uncontrollably. Anyway, the Americans got the upper hand on the British. Thanks to your knowledge of Jimson weed. Never touch that stuff. It is pretty bad. It's extremely, it's in the potato family. Things in the potato family are to be respected. That's why we keep potatoes in dark cellophane bags. What happens when light hits them? What color do they turn? Green, and they start producing scopolamine and hyoscine and other nasty ingredients that are not good for you. You might get confused. You might be having ethereal dreams. No, yeah. Anyway, I think that's it. I think it's 11:15. We're going to start making our way back. And sorry we couldn't get through everything, but next time. It's just too much.
Thank you so much.
Fascinating, yes. Thank you ever so much.